So we lead really fractured lives. It can be a struggle to stay in the Book of Allah. It can be a struggle to stay there, to be consistent with it, due to the nature of our very fractured modern lives. And then, of course, let's not discount that Shaitan is the enemy of the mu'mineen. Shaitan is the enemy of the believers, and he seeks to encourage us to laziness and to distraction. And so I wanted to relate a narration that is collected in Imam Malik's al-Muwaṭṭa, rahimahullah. And there's at least two narrations of this. One, it's according to Umar ibn al-Khaṭṭāb, and the other is also according to Umar, but it's attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, where it says, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول أو قال. And so in this he says, من فاته حزبه من الليل فقرأ تزول الشمس إلى صلاة الظهر فإنه لم يفته أو كأنه أدركه. So he says in this hadith that for the one that his hizb got away from him in the night, and I'll go into a minute what this hizb can mean. For the one that let his hizb get away in the night, right? فقرأ تزول الشمس إلى صلاة الظهر, right? But then picks it up in the morning and finishes his reading or his recitation, right? Before the advent of Salat al-Dhuhr, before Salat al-Dhuhr, the first midday prayer comes in, he says, فَإِنَّهُ لَمْ يَفُتْهُ, right? Then it didn't actually get away from him. أَوْ كَأَنَّهُ أَدْرَكَهُ, or it's like he got it, right? So if you weren't able to get your hizb in the evening, but you finish it up or you do it in the morning, then it still counts. Now, what does this say? So first is, I said I wanted to go into something about the hizb. Now, hizb can be a part of something, right? But I wanted to, probably with what we're more familiar, how the Quran is split in, or how we think of the Quran having been split for study purposes, right, into 30 different parts. And we call this a juz'a, right, the plural being a jaza. And so, of course, those 30 parts can be further divided into a hizb or ahzab. Some of you may be familiar with this or not. But anyway, so where a juz'a is a 30th, a hizb is a 60th of the Quran. So it's a fairly small amount. And to give you an idea, if you were to go and open your Quran, roughly the first 80 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah would constitute a hizb. In fact, somewhere between the 70 and 80th verses or so, you will usually see a little symbol in there that will tell you you have reached the hizb. And so it's not that far. And so what Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, is saying is that if you try to do it at night, and either for whatever reason it got away from you, or you couldn't finish it, and you complete the reading of it, of your Quran, in the morning, or you do it in the morning, then he says, فَإِنَّهُ لَمْ يَفُتْهُ, then it didn't get away from you, أَوْ كَأَنَّهُ أَدْرَكَهُ, or rather that you were able to attain it, right? You caught up to it. And so in the commentary, right, one of the scholars has said, al-hirs ala qada'i ma fata min ibadatin mu'tadatin li'udhrin min shiyam as-salihin wa akhlaqihim. He says, وَلَذَا حَرَصَ سَلَفُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ عَلَى ذَلِكَ. So he says that, the desire for one to follow up on and complete what got away from you, right, in terms of what is normal, regular, habitual worship and devotion, what he calls ibadah mu'tada. He said, maybe you had some excuse. He said, this is one of the qualities, right? He said, shiyam as-salihin wa akhlaqihim, right? That desire to not say, oh, well, I didn't get it last night, and then the next morning I just kind of go about my way, I go about my business, and I don't try to actually complete it. He said, no, one of the great qualities of the righteous from before, he said, وَلَذَا حَرَصَ السَّلَفُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ, right, is that they number one, they had a desire, they had hirs, they had a positive covetedness to not let, blessings, opportunities get away from them. Two, they had as part of their lives, they had what he terms as what ibadah mu'atada, right? They had regular, consistent, habitual devotions. That is, of course, outside the salah. Part of that being what? The qira'ah of the Quran, the recitation of the Quran. And so, if we were to lighten our load a little bit and say, okay, maybe a juz'ah of Quran is very difficult, but I will do half of that. I will do a hizb, right? Which is, if you were to go to the last 30 of the Quran, let's say from starting from Surah An-Naba, and say we went up to roughly Surah Al-A'la, or from Surah Al-A'la to like the end of Juz' Amma, right? And that was going to be our daily reader, or at least that length of Quran. And then we try to get some of that in the evening. If we don't, we try to do it in the morning before Dhuhr comes. Then we will be training ourselves to have this regular devotion, consistent devotion, and we will have a quality of the righteous, right? We will have a quality of the righteous, and as is related, another statement too, speaking of Imam Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, is that he said what? The last of this ummah will not be made sound except for that which made the first of this ummah. And of course, part of that is what? Staying in the book of Allah, staying in the recitation and the reading of the Quran. So I wanted to leave that as some positive advice. Is one, be dogged, right? Somebody asked me not that long ago, what advice do you have for time management? And I said, well, man, we've probably all seen 101, videos about time management, including by Muslims. And I said, if there's one thing that I could add to it that I feel that doesn't quite make it into it, is just a dogged sense of determination, right? Be dogged about your commitment to the Quran, because, it's like some other narrations, it's like the ibil, it's like a camel that wants to run away, wants to kind of run away. So you really got to stay on top of it. So, see what you can do with that 60th of a Quran, right? See what you can do with, again, open up your mushaf and get a count of how many pages we're talking about, say from Surah Al-Fatiha to somewhere around the 80th verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. Get a feel for how many pages in that, and see if you can cover that between the evening and the start of Salat al-Dhuhr in the morning. May Allah Ta'ala give us all success and tawfiq, and inshallah ij'ala min as-salihin, make us from amongst the righteous. Wa salawatullahi ta'ala ala rasulihi al-kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum.